Alright, it's time to just lay it out there. Now, I have Mud Fossils University on YouTube, and mudfossils.com is where you want to go to get all of the links and the videos and all that business. Now, what I'm saying is that the ancient myths and texts were literal. They were not metaphorical, they were literal. And I am saying that Revelations 12, which states that there was a woman and a dragon, it says, and the woman stood on the moon with her feet on the moon, pregnant and about to give birth, and she did give birth to a baby, a son, and it was God's son. He swooped down and took him up to his throne, and then there was a fight with the dragon, and the dragon was thrown to earth, and the angels fought him, and there was terrible battles in heaven, and woe unto the earth. So now, that is in Revelations 12, and that is a fact. Now, the reason I say it's a fact is because the woman standing on the moon gave birth to God's son, whoever that may be. I would assume it's Jesus at this point, and it turned out to be, that's correct. And he took his son to his throne. Now, this is at the same time that Exodus occurred, and the Bible was started to be written, and Velikovsky says that Venus erupted from Jupiter as a fiery comet, and this is all, I have a video about this, you can look it up, it's called, and if you look up Worlds in Collision, you'll understand the whole process that this occurred. And the ancient peoples all around the world recorded this, that Venus was a fiery comet turned into the planet Venus, but in the meantime it wreaked havoc on the earth as it cascaded around and took its orbit. Now, this was at the same time that the Bible was written, and the Jew, at this point they were Israelites. They escaped from Egypt. Now, what else happened? The red dust fell, the manna fell, and the stones fell, all at the same time. If there was a birth in space, you would have afterbirth blood, which would fall as red dust heavily, which it did. You would have placenta floating around, falling in, which fell as milk, and it fell as milk pellets. It says it very, very clearly. It fell as pellets of the same size as coriander seeds. They landed in the water and they turned to milk. They landed on the ground and they turned to honey in the sun. They melted. Now, what that is that the placenta is a gelatinous bag of lactogenic proteins, which means it's milk. When the baby is born, there's a hormonal influx of milk that just gushes in there and feeds the baby because he's being born. He needs milk now. And then there already is milky substances in there. But anyway, this is what happened. It rained as atomized coming through as milk. And if you could come up with any other reason for that, come up with it. I'd like to hear it. Now, so here, and then the umbilical cord is literally stone in your body. It literally is stone. It's so heavily mineralized that it's almost indestructible. Now, that would break up into little chunks and pieces, which it did, and blanket the earth with stones, which every culture on the earth recorded all these events. Now, so there we go at Exodus. Here we are 3,500 years ago. That's Exodus. The Bible started to be written. God is talking about this and that, and the Old Testament is being written. Now, what happened next? Jesus, let's go with Jesus. Jesus is born. Well, we had the flood, we know about that. God got mad and he flooded the world and he killed everybody. And he, in the meantime, before that and after that, he killed people at random and civilizations, and he was a pretty violent guy. He had rules, and if you didn't follow the rules, you were done. Sometimes even if you followed the rules, you were done. But you had better follow the rules and obey God. He was fed up with everybody on earth. And I understand why, because I'm fed up with everybody on earth right now. I got to be honest with you. That's a fact. Now, let's continue on from there. So, now there's Jesus comes after the flood. God tries to get rid of the people that created all the giants and all that business. And I have all kind of videos on that too. Now, so then we get into Jesus being born. What did Jesus say? He said, my body fell out of space. It's absolute fact what he's told all of his Jewish buddies. He said, look, my body fell out of space. It was my body that fed your people in the desert. I'm telling you, that's a fact. Truly, truly, truly. That's what he told them. And they wanted to stone him. They wanted to kill him because they thought he was nuts. And who wouldn't think he was nuts? But it was a fact, because that is the chemistry, that is the history, that is the stories. That is the written text. So I'm going with the stories as being pretty accurate. I mean, who the hell would thought that's going to happen? Now, who was the best guy in the Bible? Was Enoch. He was the best friend of God. God told him face to face, Enoch says, God told him, write these books. I want everybody to know what's going on. And God told him, he said, look, I'm going to give you free will, and then if you don't do what I want, I'm going to fry you all. I'm going to roast you, and that's it. Case closed. You're going to go to hell. But I gave you the free will, and if you abuse it, if you use it, if you take advantage of other people, if you screw around with things, and your neighbor's wife and his kids and everything else, and the church turns on its people, and the people that trust them, they violate the little kids, which is all written by Enoch. And he was only 600 years after Adam. So but nobody reads these things. And what happened was they took Enoch out of the Bible because he told the true nature of God. He told the nature of the beast. And let's get into that right now. Old Testament versus New Testament. God didn't all of a sudden have he didn't change it to a new God. Old Testament God was violent. He was demanding. He wanted you to bow down to him every second of the day, and you better, because that's his nature. He's given you everything, and if you don't give back, you're done. He doesn't want you coming to heaven and causing trouble up there. I'm telling you, believe me, I've read it and read it and read it, and this is exactly what it says. Now, so, this nature of the beast, he didn't turn into a new God. He started taking Prozac. They just took him out of the Bible. They said, get him out of there because we don't want anybody to know this. Why would they not want you to know this? Why did they take Thomas out of the Bible? You know who he was? He was Jesus' best buddy. They call him Doubting Thomas because he didn't realize that Jesus could actually come back to, and he did. He came back to life, and then he said, wow. And then originally he was not going to believe that, but you know, what it is what it is. So, but he traveled with Jesus and wrote every saying that Jesus said just about, and they are just absolutely amazing. And it was called the Gospel of Thomas. They took that out of the Bible too. These were all normal biblical texts. But in 325, the Council of Nicaea said, look, let's get all this stuff out of there, because well, guess what? We are now Satan, and we are taking over the church. And we're going to screw the little kids, and we're going to do anything we want. We're going to take over, we're going to oppress people and act arrogantly and do anything we want, because now they don't think that they're going to go to hell. We'll tell them they can sin and just come in and say, sorry, it's no problem. And we'll say, okay, go ahead and do it some more. And they do. Because they're fools. They didn't read, they didn't study, they didn't think. It's all written. God says, don't be deceived. The Bible that you think is saving your life is going to destroy you. It's going to destroy you. Because they took everything good that God said, be careful, don't do this. If you do this, what's going to happen? And they said, don't worry about it. He's a nice guy, he won't hurt you. No, that is not God's nature. God did not change. If you want to go with the new God, good for you. Now, then you go with Jesus versus Muhammad. What happened? Jesus came here, they killed him. Well, Muhammad says, I'm not going to get killed. And what happened was, once they perverted the Bible, after Jesus, 325 AD, Gabriel came to Muhammad and said, look, we're going to straighten out some stuff. We're going to say, really, God he's a strict God. He's not a violent God. This ISIS thing is insanity. These people are going to fry like Roman candles down there, because that is not what God said to do. Absolutely not. Absolute total violation of what God said to do. And they know this. So I'm not sure what their plan is. But they are not that stupid to do this. The kind of things that they're doing is absolutely forbidden in the Quran. And I have great esteem for the Quran and great esteem for Muhammad. And I am a Christian and a lover of God and a lover of Christ. So don't come to me with anybody's a bad guy and anybody's a good guy. Muhammad didn't want to get killed. So he went up and he said, I'm going to fight back. I'm not going to let you guys come kill me. And God bless him. Now, let's go with Satan versus man. Satan, we know, is supposed to get us. It's his job. He's supposed to come and get us and say, come on, you come with me down to hell. I want to roast you and torture you and do whatever he wants with you. I don't know what he's going to do with you, but where Enoch went there. And Enoch was the best absolute friend of God. He talked to him. He was in his face. He was anointed with God's oil, and he became one of them. And he is supposed to stay with God in front of him. He said, Enoch, come and stand in front of me forever and take down everything that I say. And he wrote all these books, and they took them all out of the Bible. Now, why would they do that? Thomas wrote every phrase that Jesus said. And the first phrase that he has in his book says, start looking and look until you can find it. Keep looking and keep looking. And as soon as you find things, you're going to be amazed. Then you're going to be disturbed. And then you're going to be happy. And then you're going to rest. But they took that away. They said, don't look. Don't think. God will forgive you. Just come in every now and then and say, oh, I'm sorry, I did all this bad stuff. And say, don't worry about it. Go back and do it again. It's okay. And when you're dying on your deathbed, just say, I'm sorry, it was okay. And guess what God's going to say? Go to hell. All right, so now we got churches versus the secular. I just told you what happened there. The secular people are so sheepish that they go to the church and say, oh, save me, Father. And he says, well, do you have any little kids? I'll save you if you got some little kids you could bring for me. That is what happened. And that is, these people are in such bad shape. Now, then you go to the Bible versus the Gnostics and the Dead Sea Scrolls. Guess what? Enoch wrote and said in 2000, well, he didn't say in 2,000 years, but he said, there will come a time, 70 generations from now, when I am writing this book for. And that is the end times, when we're going to judge all these people that did what they're not supposed to do, which is us. And what they try to take them out of, like I said, they try to take these books out of the Bible, which they were in the Bible, and they are still in, and never were taken out of the Ethiopian Orthodox text, because they stayed with the true reality. Those people knew that they were true books. The books of giants. Enoch wrote 366 books at the behest, in the face of God. Enoch, he told Michael, go get a pen for speed writing. Stay with Enoch and write everything until he has seen and written everything. He went through the heavens, he went to hell, he saw everything there is to know, and he wrote it down that we were supposed to look at this stuff. We were supposed to dig into this stuff. We were supposed to understand it and lead moral, good lives. And not, you don't have to go around being insane, I don't think, about religion or anything. You just have to say the golden rule. Do what you're supposed to. God said, I'll give you all kinds of stuff. Do what I'm telling you. Treat everybody fairly. Do what you would do to them. Do to them what you would hope they'd do to you. And then that's the only rule he needed. But then he threw in another 10. But that's it. Do what you're supposed to. Case is closed. You're all set. Now, so what happened? 70 generations from now, I'm writing this book, Enoch said. Well, guess what? Today's 70 generations from now, because they found the Bible, the Gnostics, and the Dead Sea Scrolls, the books that they hid to try to make you believe Satan would say, to think that God would say it's okay to do the things we're doing. Go out and create weapons and trigger pullers that are shooting people, and weapons makers, and oppressors, and the people don't care about the less fortunate. This is terrible. What we're in is a situation that was built by Satan. Absolutely. Anybody gives me any other possibility that this could possibly be just, it's a good idea to take all these truisms out, which is about God. He said these all things. Now, Enoch wrote that, and then all of a sudden they show up in 1947, almost like right at the same day, found in the caves, and one of them they were burning it for starting fires, and they realized, holy smokes, this might be something. These things were found at the same time as Israel was founded. You think about the odds of this. 2,000 years after Christ, and I think it was like 6,000 or so after Enoch. What are the odds of that? Now, and Israel being started after, like 6 months after they got just done frying all the Jews. Think about the odds of this. And then think about eternity, my friends. And then think about Velikovsky and all of the ones that they threw out that had the real truth, that went and did the real truth. And they destroyed these people. And they're destroying me for saying these things. And they're destroying everybody that says anything that's of any validity. I have no hits on my site. I have nobody visiting my things, and I know what's going on. My IPs are blocked, and there's all kinds of things. Well, I'm considered spam, and I'm showing things that are literal and factual, and they are saying Big Bang, where everything came from nothing, and then a whole bunch of molecules bumped together, and now it's all machine gunning people. That's insanity. Absolute, total, ridiculous insanity. There is not one person on the face of this planet that would come up with that conclusion if they weren't forced to say it. And that's what academia is they are forcing you to give up any belief system that you might have and adopt their belief system. And if you don't, they will destroy your life, literally. They'll take your money, they will fail you, and say you're not worthy, you're invalidated by them, who are not, they don't care about anything. I presented DNA and everything else to Professor Briggs down at Yale. He couldn't care less. Same thing with down at Johns Hopkins, my professor down here, Steven Salzberg, he couldn't care less. It means nothing to these people. That's my opinion, but it's a fact. That's what happened. I could force it on Yale. He absolutely refuses, and then he writes a paper on the same process. But he's made some statements. See, he wants to protect himself. I see the smoking gun for this guy, Briggs, is that he made some statement, ever, never, and only people that have no thought process and he really degraded all the people that made statements that the igneous and metamorphic rocks also contain fossils, and they are actually the fossils. He said they are never there, never were there. Oh, the only people that have no understanding and don't read the books I read and all this stuff. They're just absolute. And he's delusional because he won't look at the DNA, and absolute delusional. And that there is absolutely no question about. If I present him with DNA and he has an opinion that is ridiculous, he's delusional. Anyway, this is what we got. Either you have a strong mind or you have a weak mind. If you're an academic, you have the weakest of all minds. And if you don't think for yourself and if you don't study, you also have a weak mind. But if you can take what academic says and go with the Big Bang and all of these wormholes and string theories and multidimensional this and that they come up with as facts, they think they're so smart, they're just ridiculous, absolute morons, in my opinion. I mean, I know I'm starting to get crazy here, but it's so frustrating. It's been 5 years of trying to present evidence that's true and real, and Professor Hawkins is considered a genius, and he's out saying there's no God, which is the most ridiculous thing that's ever happened. And if you look at my video on Comet 67P, you'll realize, and NASA now realizes, it is organic 100%. And the organics that are spewing out of there are the identical organics that are in life. And NASA says it's so complicated now that we just don't know what to do. Well, they don't know what to do because they can't open their eyes. And they can't open their ears. And they can't open their minds. And they will roast. You deny God. This is God's creation. And I have put it in front of you because God said put it in front of you, people, and this is it. Don't see it? Roast.